Hello everyone! It was pointed out to me recently that I did videos based on BotCon toys in the past, but I completely glossed over the entirety of the subscription service toys that FunPub had also released for Transformers. So I decided it was high time to actually correct that mistake, and it's been a while since we tier listed, so I figure I'm going to go through all of the subscription service figures one by one, quick little discussions about them, and we are going to rank them in my traditional rankings. The top being the Holy Grail, followed by Premium Price, Retail Release, Bargain Bin, and of course at the bottom, the Flea Market. So, I'm going to try and be really quick about this. We got about 34 different toys to cover, technically 35 if we include one of the 2-packs. And we'll just go with whatever comes up and however quick we can go. So, as always, if you enjoy what you see here today, please hit like and subscribe before you leave. It really does help out the channel. And if you're so inclined, a buck or two in Patreon keeps the daily videos coming and keeps me doing what I'm doing. And I thank you very much for allowing me to do it. So, we're going to start with a super odd one, which is Counterpunch. So, TJOmega just kind of did whatever it wanted to do. I wanted to do this chronologically. TJOmega did it by file name, so we're in this like really wonkadoo order here where we're covering the last ones first. Bear with me. We're still going to get through them all. So we're starting with Counterpunch, which is... I don't think you can do a Counterpunch toy or a Punch toy that can't convert into the other. That absolutely seems like a complete waste of time, if I'm going to be honest. It feels like a way of capturing like a previous figure the club had released without actually capturing the same reason why that was special. It's also using what I consider to be the worst Combiner War mold. Wheeljacks, tooling doesn't really help the fact that the engineering on that is really unfortunate and the proportions aren't really great. It still looks okay. I'm not going to put it like horrible, but I definitely think Bargain Bin's appropriate for it. Next up, Double Pretender Megatron. This feels like... It feels like they were obligated to make this. After they did a Double Pretender Prime, it felt like they had to do a Double Pretender Megatron as well. It's with the canceled Hero release. There's a Target Master Space Warp, which I admit, clever use of that little space shuttle toy. And it's using Grand Maximus's shell, of all things. And the two barely fit in there, but they do make it work. And it's a clever combination of elements, I give it that. But it also just feels odd. It's a really weird figure, because it just seems like there wasn't an onus to releasing it other than we did Prime, so we need to do a Megatron. Not terrible. I'm popping it to the retail level, but it's just a weird set. Equally weird. So when they did Oil Master, they went through a lot in order to actually create a somewhat feasible recreation of the original Double Pretender that never came out, but it is an exceptional amount of tooling for FunPub to do. No surprise they would want to get a repaint out of it, so somehow a Swerve toy ended up getting remolded into an Optimus Prime toy. I'm not that thrilled with it as a Prime toy. I feel like the stocky build of it would have been better suited to like an Armada Prime mold, like an Armada Prime homage, and then your Target Master, your little Jetman thrown in there, would be overrun. I mean, it's already silver. Wouldn't that have made sense? As it is, it's okay. It's okay. It solves the truck or monkey debate by combining the two. And like I don't know. I just feel like there was like more clever applications here. Like the ape could have been like, I don't know, Optimal Optimus colors or something. I feel like there's just some cleverness that was missed out on here. It's not bad, but it's not impressive either. Fractal. I love that they did homages to their classic toys. Like, classic, anytime a classic BotCon character comes back up, I love it. I'm looking forward to, like, a Kingdom Fractal at some point in Legacy. This is a weird one because it came packed in with a Scorponok, which was mostly just to round out all of the, like, Cybertronian Beast Wars toys they had released over the years. It's a pretty dismal attempt, honestly. I think even they admitted it's just like, well, that was the mold that was available and we just had to do something. You know, it doesn't really seem to fit Scorponok. He's a throw-in with Fractal, though, and I'm judging it based on Fractal, and I think Fractal is actually pretty good as far as, like, a Cybertronian take on him goes. Yeah, I mean, naturally, it's based on the Pterosaur they did, but I don't mind it, and I think the toy looks good in those colors. You know, maybe like not an absolute best, and then it's probably going to go to the lower end of the premium price point, but I think it's worth it. I think it's a really nice set. Toxitron. So it is sorry. That's the one we were talking about, by the way. Sorry. I'm still getting used to this. Toxitron. There we go. So, Toxitron is always fun to see come up as a BotCon toy, and using the Motormaster sculpt with the unused Scourge head, I think is a really clever combination of those molds to create a unique look for Toxitron. I'm very much in favor of Motormaster toys becoming Toxitron rather than making him like another obligatory Optimus Prime remold. That way you could have like Toxitron and Scourge coexisting, which is like the coolest idea. Yeah, it's not a bad use. And like it's super bright garish colors, admittedly, but it works. It's what Toxitron's supposed to do. Like I said, I like the clever mold usage here. So up to premium that goes. I like Fractal a little bit more, though. Bludgeon. So, this is the era where Hasbro was kind of mandating they had to put out toys that were closer to what their current retail releases were, which I think really defeats the point. I really think took a lot of what made BotCon toys just don't feel special when they just feel like an extension of what's out at retail right now. BotCon toys should feel like something fresh and different. It should feel like, reinvigorating something from the past, or bring up those, those possibilities that Hasbro never took advantage of. So there's a lot of weirdness in here, Bludgeon being among them. This feels so forced in. It's not a tank. A lot of the green is left over from the vehicle mode. It doesn't really hit the samurai motif. The weapons are absurdly out of proportion. Yeah, I really don't like this one. I really don't like this one. I don't think it's flea market bad. I know a couple that'll get there, but I really, really don't gel with that Bludgeon. Blue Streak, who is actually blue. I love the joke. I love the joke they're doing right now with Buzzworthy, where the Blue Streak finally exists, but it's Silver Streak. I love the joke of that. This kind of played into it before that, a Blue Streak existing using Combiner War Prowl as a base, which obvious, yes, but it works well enough. It feels like something that could have been a retail release, honestly. Being a Blue Streak is about the only thing it has going for as far as this being like a specialty thing. So he goes up into retail because he feels like a retail figure. Not bad, but not thrilling me either. Impactor is probably one of the best uses of the Combiner War molds they had. He is using the Rook mold, which is my preference, what I would call the best mold in Combiner Wars. It suits him. It's a big, heavy, beefy figure, and it does come with some... It's not a harpoon, but you can actually use like his weapon as like a wrist extension rather than just a standard fist. So he actually does kind of play into the whole theme of Impactor as well. Yeah, super cool. I actually really do like this one. It's not Holy Grail. There's a few later up I think are definitely worth the highest of the height. But I do want to put him very close to the top of premium for now. I think it's a super cool homage. Needlenose. Needlenose is becoming famous as a figure that Hasbro has basically given up on. Twice, Needlenose was used in the fan-voted figures. Twice, he failed to approach the top. So, I think they've lost... Someone in Hasbro really wanted a Needlenose, but couldn't get it justified without a fan vote, and the fans shot it down twice. So, this is as good as we've gotten for a modern Needlenose. As it stands, it's okay. Again, it feels like something could have seen at retail, outside of the fact that it does come with his 2 Target Masters, or at least semblances of those Target Masters. So in that, you give him a pass. You give him a little bit of an extra bump. Needlenose, again, it's not a thrilling figure. It's just a cool, like, we filled in a gap kind of figure. I put that at the top of retail, but it's not, like, super impressive. Okay, Ruckus, or Grabbage. Like, they had to go for a super weird name for him. This is another one that I'm just not a fan of. I mean, it's like really forcing those colors into that mold, and it's not really working for me. It leaves him with a super weird looking truck mode with, you know, we have this combination of, you know, these like weird colors that like don't really quite fit the mold's pattern, as well as these like falsified sticker details on the hood. It's a weird jumble. You know, and what it turned in the robot mode doesn't really strike me as Ruckus. So it's not the best job they ever did. You know, I'm looking forward more to the rumored Ruckus figure we got coming that's in the computer listings right now. But for now, this is, again, the best one we have. I definitely think it could have been better, though. All right, Spinister from the Alpha Bravo mold. Again, 2 Target Masters coming with it. I do think this works way better. I think he takes to this mold, but of course he takes to this mold better because it's a helicopter. So it actually does work for Spinister, and it helps that it is a nice mold. The colors look good on him. They do fit appropriately well. It is very late G1 in how bright it is, but I think that's part of the charm of Spinister. I mean, obvious repaint and retool is obvious, but it actually works really well here, and I think it works, you know, well enough to create like this nice little version of him. And again, the Target Masters definitely help out. Yeah, well, we'll see. I put Needlenose at the top of retail, so I guess I got to put him at the bottom of premium if I'm going to be fair about this. Still no one in either the top or the bottom bracket. All right, Windsweeper. This is a Trigger Con, is a super random, you know, one to do, and definitely, you know, like Ruckus, a gap, you know, a gap filler. Hasbro's not done these before, so let's do them ourselves. The benefit here is that, again, the mold works way better for this particular figure. The only, you know, the only downside to this is that, like, even with the big gun weapon, you just can't replicate the, like, massive chrome guns that flipped out from him without including some completely extra parts stolen from somewhere else. They did that with Bludgeon, so I figure they could have done it with Windsweeper and given him, like, the appropriate, like, massive guns he's supposed to be known for. I'll take what I can get, though. Like, I don't think it's a bad figure. You know, I think it takes to the mold well. We've seen a lot of red on that particular mold, but he wears it fairly well. Like, the beige is actually, like, working here to kind of separate it and keep it from looking like an aerial bot. Not premium. I think high up on the retail. I think that's appropriate. All right, Ultra Mammoth. So in trying to get every single Optimus Prime to eventually be an Ultra Magnus toy, we have gone to making Beast Wars Optimuses, or convoys in this case, into Magnus. This I do think is clever. Yeah, because it does suit the big, powerful bulk that you get with Ultra Magnus. It kind of hits the Laser Magnus approach, if you remember that exclusive that was done, where you have this, they have the right colors in the right spots, and you have the bulk in the right areas, you know, especially like Magnus needs those giant shoulders. You know, here they're going outward thanks to those tusks. But here he keeps that that white and blue Optimus head, which I actually like the look of. You know, it looks like he's going around helmetless, which isn't a bad look. Yeah, this definitely goes to premium. Let's see, Ultra Mammoth, I think right there. I think I like Impactor better, but I do think it's a very clever use of the mold. All right, so right, the Lifeline, or the Paradron Medic, as we used to call her. It's Thrilling 30 RC, where the pink has been replaced by Seafoam Green. That's literally what the Paradron Medic was back in G1, so there's really nothing you could do about that. These days, this would be a Selects release here, and I think it was on the newer one. But here, it's just... I'm going to correct myself. It was an Amazon release before anyone gets to the comment section. But this one, like, again, it's kind of a gap filler. It's kind of an obvious repaint. There's nothing, like, terribly special or, like, thrilling about it. You know what? For now, top of bargain bin, only because it's not that special. You know, it's essentially one color change. It's what it needs to be, but it's nothing like thrilling or anything like that. Serpent OR. Whew. Okay, you talk about clever retools and repaints. This is a very rare at the time crossover with G.I. Joe that actually worked really, really well. You take that Senator Ratbat figure released in Japan, which was already a beautiful figure, and you redo it so that that bat head is actually a cobra head, and it actually has, you know, enough sculpting to it that actually works and makes sense. The jet mode is like the only part where you might be able to go, oh, that's really weird looking, because it is like prioritizing the Serpentor homage in the robot mode, which means the jet mode does come up looking really, really odd in the color combinations and layout. The thing is, though, I actually don't mind it. I actually kind of think it looks cool. I think the green and the purple and gold work. It definitely stands out a lot. And again, I think it is super clever to be able to take a remold that only Takara used and bring it over to the US as a completely different character that wasn't even a Transformer character. This, I think, is a genius repaint. You know, and that earns you a spot in the Holy Grail section. I will admit, this is probably going to fall down, because there's some coming up that I think are just, like, sublime. And we're going to get to those in not too bit. Croc. Okay, so first off, he looks fine. As a figure, Croc looks fine. I think this was a miscast. Croc as a flying wing, to me, does not make a lot of sense. You know, because, you know, I mean, the name is going to make you think Beast Former. It's going to make you think, you know, repaint of Skull Cruncher, which he eventually became in Titan's Return. I don't think, like, Flying Wing, Stealth Bomber, or anything like that. Yeah, yeah, it's a weird vehicle choice. And because the primary color of the vehicle is still that dark gray black, he really doesn't look that different from the original Megatron release. Like, that's what gets me the most here, is that, like, in the vehicle mode, he just looks like another black stealth bomber. You know, that's not very interesting. The robot mode looks fine. The robot mode's colors look really good. I just think it could have been a much... I think there's better mold choices you could have made for him. I do like that you use an arms micron to throw back to his Action Master partner, though. I am putting him in retail right smack in the middle. Missed opportunity. Looks good, but missed opportunity, I feel. Nacelle. I hate Nacelle. I absolutely hate Nacelle. I know he has his fans, but, like, seriously, like, it was not a toy, it wasn't a character, it wasn't a well-known thing. This is where I feel like this is where I feel like FunPub really just filled out their ranks and their offerings with just random junk they came up with from the most obscure sources. Nacelle started his life as a Thundercracker with prototype versions of prototype versions of Thrust wings. That's in a magazine photo. That's all it was. That's all he was. You know, and that's not a character. You know, that's just a proof of concept figure that hasn't been painted yet. And they made a whole character out of it, out of one obscure magazine photo that I don't even think was released in America. It's just such a weird character. And, like, it's too bright for a Decepticon. I know that sets him apart, but also just, like, I don't know. It's just, like, nothing about him just, like, strikes me the way I think he should. Like, as a brand new Seeker, God, man, you could have done better here. Like, the only thing he's got going for him is the fact that he's mixing those thrust wings with a normal head, so it's not a cone head. That is not enough to save you here. Like, again, like, I never liked Nacelle at all. I feel like that was them grasping at straws and overcharging for a repaint that no one really knew or cared about or wanted. If you like him, that's not a bad thing. Keep in mind, it's all just my opinion. Night Racer. Interesting in that Night Racer is using the intended color scheme of the character, not what was actually done for the old BotCon toy. So that already has bonus points. I do think it works well as a tailgate repaint. I mean it's nice looking. And again, we're throwing back to, like, the origins of BotCon, which is really nice. And this was before, like, there wasn't too much, like, official recognition for BotCon at this time. It was still like fan organized, and they were just like they were basically like as a specialty, paying out Hasbro to release, like, something for, you know, as a toy they could sell, like commissioning Hasbro essentially. I'm gonna put it high retail. It's not the most amazing, but again, I do really like the throwback, and it is nice colors. It looks good. All right, Barricade. All right, so I never expected a movie character to be made out of prime smokescreen, and I certainly didn't expect it to work as well as it does. This is like the fiercest and most dangerous looking police car you have ever seen in your life. As a prime style Barricade, I think it works spectacularly well. I think he looks super, super good. Really, really dig the colors. Of course, it's purple and black. It's iconic Decepticon. You can't really go wrong there. The hits of silver just kind of push that up a bit. He's very Skywarp, admittedly, but that's classic Decepticon. And hey, it is kind of what Barricade's G1-ified color palette tended to be. Really good use of this mold. Really good use of this mold. Really, really nice looking figure. That gets you all the way to the top. Out of, like, a lot of these on this list, that's the one that I don't have that I wish I had the most. It's just that good. Moving on. Carzap. So, I will give credit. They threw a little bit of Creo in with Carzap to kind of get his Blocktown origins a little bit of a nod. And he does have a new, I believe he's got a new head sculpt going on. Or, like, a super repainted, brain blanking, Nightbeat head. I couldn't tell offhand because his head is just, like, solid painted silver. This is, again, one of those, like, ultra obscure things that I don't think any fan ever really asked for or ever really wanted. They just plucked a character from the deepest realms of obscurity and decided this is going to be, like, a premium priced figure, which is something that I really didn't like FunPub for in their later years. It's not the best. Aside from the fact that it's just not using the mold, the Bumblebee mold it's using is just not great to begin with. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's uninspired. Like I said, the benefit here is that it did come with a little bit of Creo pieces to create the Blocktown gimmick. And for that, I will put it retail, but I'm going to put it like low-end retail. You know, I generally think it's kind of a boring figure, and just reaching that level of obscurity where it's like, who really wanted it, honestly? Chrome Dome. Now keep in mind, this was at the height of IDW 1.0, where we really didn't have any like good Chrome Dome representation out on the toy shelves. So the fact that they picked up the ball here is actually pretty solid of them to do. And he looks good. He looks really good. You know, that Prime Wheeljack mold actually kind of suits him pretty well as like a more sleek version of the G1 Headmaster. And they did a really good job on the head sculpt too. I really liked the head sculpt they did on this figure. So, and of course, like this is in the same subscription service wave as Rewind, which, you know, that would be criminal if it wasn't. So, yeah, he's up in premium. He's up in premium. I don't know about Holy Grail. I got a couple more for Holy Grail, but not him. He is very good though. Very good. He also came with an arms micron to kind of represent his headmaster a little bit, so extra bonus point there. Fistitron. Don't make the joke. I know you want to. Don't make the joke. This is Iron Fist under a new name because they couldn't really work with the name. Weird choice here. It's an interesting choice because it's supposed to go in with the Fall of Cybertron Wreckers. It's supposed to be like a supplement figure to that set. So in that, okay, fine. It's not a bad homage. There have definitely been better. There's other ways of, I mean, there's definitely better molds for Iron Fist. This one, the mold itself is not that great. You know, and I think it is like, when I think Iron Fist, I think like super heavy set, like big bulky figure. This one is like scrawny and thin and just like the wrong spots. It's okay. It's okay. I definitely, you know, down to the retail level, kind of on the low end. I feel like that's the appropriate spot. There's better choices they could have had. Jackpot, a random animated addition to our lineup. Looking very nice, a very nice repaint of Jazz. I am happy that like there are so many action masters being represented in a lot of this. So credit to them there. This one, again, is not bad. You know, it's just a straight up repaint, so it's not like they went like over the top or did anything like super crazy, but it is nice. It's nice. You know, but again, it does kind of feel like it doesn't feel like it has that like special like outside of the fact that it's just like an action master that can actually transform. Just getting another animated figure I think was a good touch too. Like I like just getting animated anytime I can. We'll go high up on retail release for him. Looks good. I think he could have been like a little bit more special there. Scourge, and properly Scourge, not Nemesis Prime, RID Scourge. And the fact that Hasbro never released this themselves is absolutely mind-boggling to me. Of all characters, I mean, this is Hasbro, who's normally willing to repaint anything, and they did not do their own Nemesis Prime, RID Scourge, anything like that. We had to get the Collectors Club to make it. It's insanity, especially when you realize that that particular like deluxe laser Optimus Prime had a very sharp, mean-looking head sculpt from the get-go. It looked like it was just prime and ready for a Scourge repaint, and Hasbro didn't deliver. We had to wait for FunPub to do it. Are you kidding? Why? Why? But nevertheless, beautiful figure. Again, it falls into like the obvious repaint thing, you know, so like for that I should be putting it lower, but the fact that they actually made it happen when Hasbro wasn't going to make it happen, that puts you very high up the list. And of course, it's just a beautiful figure and a beautiful release, a very well done one. Obvious though it may be, it's still really good. Speaking of really, really good. Thrustinator. It's using the Beast Wars 2 Thrustor figure. Sorry. God, I get the Cyber Beast mixed up so often. Dirge Gun. It's using the Dirge Gun figure. I think. Oh, God. Please don't grill me in the comments. God, the Cyber Beasts are so hard to keep straight. But he's using a Cyber Beast figure that was originally the Waspinator mold, which means it is the Waspinator mold with cybernetic mechanical parts. So painting those parts to be Beast Machine's thrust, painting the parts that originally were Waspinator back into Waspinator's colors, and then you throw in that head, this Frankenstein of a head, like one of the best head sculpts they've ever done, one of the best paint jobs on a head sculpt they've ever done. The one knock against this figure is that the bug eye, the one exposed wasp eye, really should have been purple. That is like the only knock I can give this. I think this is one of the most genius remolds of all time, if not the most genius remold, as just a super cool way of representing Waspinator in his final form at the end of Beast Machines. I mean, it is just a masterpiece of just inspired mold choice, inspired just homage. It is, I don't know, I would call that the best Fun Pub ever did. BotCon, subscription service, or otherwise. I think that's the best one they ever did. Rewind. Keep in mind, when this toy came out with the subscription service, these little tanks had never been released in the United States. To this day, Rumble and Frenzy in these molds never did come out in the US, despite a re-release in Japan at one point. For whatever reason, it was slated for release and then got canceled. Here, this was the first time that you in North America had a way of actually obtaining this figure without importing from Japan, and to recast Rumble and Frenzy into Blaster's cassette humanoids. Obvious choice, but very well inspired choice. I do really like this. And of course, they put him in the same wave as Chrome Dome, right? So, awesome. Guess where that gets him? Right next to Chrome Dome. Great use, and the fact that they got out, I liked when Fun Pub could get out a mold that was never seen in the US. Really, really nice touch. G2 Starscreen. The final use of the classic Seeker mold before it was finally laid to rest. Use number 31, if I recall correctly. It is basically the most obvious thing they could have done. I do think it is appropriate that the final version of this mold is essentially the second Starscream of all time. So we go from like the first Starscream since G2 to like the final use of that mold as going back to Generation 2. I think there's a nice little bit of like closure there for this mold that has done practically everything and then some it possibly could have done. That's it. It's a little bit more obvious, and it's not, terribly different from a normal Starscream. I think I would have preferred something a little bit more original if they're going to do it one last time, but for what it is, I think it's good. I do think it's a good job. I think I like the story of the mold better than I like the actual like usage of it. Okay. Oh, and I screwed that one up too. We were talking about this mold, and now I screwed this up. We were talking about G2 Starscream, which I don't think I need to really explain to you. You guys knew what it's Starscream with slightly different deco. I'm sure you could picture it. This is a different Starscream though. This is Shattered Glass Starscream using a Combiner War aerial bot mold, and I'm not a fan. I really am not a fan. So this goes back to just the over-proliferation of those Combiner War molds, especially the jets. And the fact that we saw this as the aerial bots before in both G1 and G2, we just saw molds, this mold and molds way too similar to it in white and red way too many times for them to actually charge a premium price for yet another white and red. It is using the Starscreen head that Takara made for the Ghost Starscreen figure, but that's just kind of saving it. And it feels like the only reason that this toy exists, is because that head already existed, so it was an easy job for FunPub to use. I think it goes against the character. Like, I honestly do, because, like, that Cybertron, like, aesthetic for Shatterglass Starscream, like, that's his character. That's his silhouette. This is just, like, a super scrawny, like, you know, like he hasn't been working out in a long time, you know, version of him. I don't know. I just feel like it's uninspired. Like, but there. Yeah, I don't like it. I really don't like it. So, Breakdown is another obvious choice that they went with. When they did him in 2010, it was a great throwback to the original BotCon exclusive, and to repaint it into the G1 colors was a pretty obvious choice. You know, they already had the head mold, so you might as well do it. Fortunately, this mold actually looks really, really nice in these colors. It looks like very much like an evolution, similar to how Swindle occasionally escapes the Combaticons to become his own character and stand on his own. I think Breakdown did a nice job doing the same out of this figure, and it does help that it starts off as a pretty nice toy. So again, more on the obvious side, but I do like really like it for for like completing the circle a little bit. Again, you know, bringing it back to the G1 color scheme. So, not too bad there. Circuit. This one I think is divisive, because like it definitely stands out amongst all of the subscription service toys, like by far, because it is just so garish and so bright compared to everything else. And I do think it is to a detriment to the mold, because the mold itself is so vicious and sharp, you know, and because it's lockdown, of course. So there's just a lot of like really mean details to this toy. And I do think it gets lost and muddled in all these bright blues and yellows and oranges and pinks. And it feels like they're trying to hit that Euro G1, you know, kind of vibe to the color scheme. I don't think it works. I definitely think you could have picked better molds to get that across. This one just feels like you're missing the best parts of the mold, and it's just not working. You know, it feels like you're downplaying what makes this mold special. So that puts you, like, maybe not the worst, because I'll give him points for uniqueness, but I'm not a fan of the treatment to that mold. So if we did rewind, we had to do eject as well. There's not a whole lot more that I can say about that. You know, it's the same figure in blue. So I guess if I'm going to put rewind up there, I got to put eject up there again. And it's great that they did both of them. So, you know, if you had that Rumble and Frenzy set, you have an eject and rewind for them to fight. And they all turn into the same thing. And then never mind the fact that they have the pile drivers too. Never mind that. Never mind that. Slipstream. This is, again, just a brilliant choice. So, this is at a time where Slipstream was struggling to find a figure. Because you really couldn't repaint a Starscream into Slipstream. They're all too bulky. They didn't really come across as a female character. But when you have Prime First Edition just sitting there, now you have an opportune time to actually have a feminine Seeker mold. And that was a great opportunity that they took. The new head works really, really well. And I do like that you can take advantage of the way this toy transforms, and you can skip the transformation step that gives like that prime Starscream silhouette of like that hunchback look. And you can completely disregard that and just give her like a straight spine. So she has this different profile to her just by like skipping a transformation step. Really nice touch. You know, it really helps push, like, this is like a really solid take on Slipstream. Still really, really love this one too. She goes very, very high. She's up there at the top, definitely. Still have her. Still have her. Like, that is, like, still my go-to Slipstream. Just because it's also, like, just a really good toy, too. Tarantulas. So, when FunPub did a box set with Tarantulas, I hated it because it was such a stupid mold to choose for him. The Junkion mold works better in many, many ways. By the way, I do apologize. You know, half an hour into the video, or God, wow, I've been gone a long time. This long into the video, I'm going to apologize for how small some of these are. Like, I'm kind of like restricted by just like proportions and everything, but I want to at least give some visual example. But it's unfortunate it's a little bit too small to really make out really well. But Tarantulas, there's a lot of smart stuff going on in this figure. So aside from the fact that you do have a Junkion head that does kind of somewhat resemble Tarantulas' head if it was Cybertronian and not the animalistic on Beast Wars, you have something. The fact that it is homaging his motorcycle mode from his Transmetal form, really, really, really good touch there. I do think the colors work well in both of the modes. I do think it works well as the bike. He comes with 2 arms Microns that act as his spider drones in one mode and combine onto him to create his pincer claws that he is his a signature of his pre-Transmetal body. I think that is a very clever choice of like bonus figure for him. Very, very well picked. This was the Tarantulas they should have gone with. Like, this is just like, this was their Tarantulas. That was just a smart one all the way around. And last but not least, we are ending off with Treadshot, another Action Master brought to life, complete with his Action Master partner, again, with an ARMS Micron edition. I love this mold, by the way. This is still like one of my favorite molds from this time period. That Warpath, like, I don't think there's a thing wrong with that Warpath toy at all. The colors work really well. The hits of orange, I could use maybe a bit more of them, but I do really like it against the black, and it just gives this mold like a much more serious tone than he had even in like the dark red. Very, very nice figure. And again, like, bringing Action Masters back as like full-on Transformers, really, really good idea. We will, let's see, where do we pop him? I'm popping him right about there in Premium. So, yeah, that feels about right. I think he was a really, really nice figure for what he was going for. All right, so I'm looking over the list now. Let's see. I do think Impactor is really, really good. Do I bump him up one? If I put Tarantulas up there. The Tarantulas has that extra little bit of cleverness with his ARMS Micron partners, so I actually think I'm fine right where I stand right there. Let's see. Okay, no, the separation between G2 Starscream and Breakdown I think is fine. Let's see, anything else? Carzap, definitely a little bit better than the Paradron Medic. Yeah, and only 2 in the flea market level, and I just think that's just because they're uninspired, grasping at straws, fill out the wave type figures. I think that's good. I think that is going to be where I put my foot down and like, this is the hill I'm going to die on. This is what I've decided that the tier it should be. So as usual, I expect nobody to agree with my listings. I remind you, this is just one nerd's opinion. So if I got one wrong, let me know in the comments below. If your favorite should have been in the Holy Grail and somehow I put it down in retail, let me know that too. I'm sure many people will want to shout at me. But that is going to be it for me today on another very long tier listing video. But thank you guys for watching if you made it this far. I do appreciate it. And tune in tomorrow. I got a little bit something special for the holidays. And by special, I mean just kind of weird. But I think it's going to be fun. So stick around. Always more stuff coming. Until then. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.